Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Ben here, and welcome to my most anticipated games left to come out in 2023. So far, this has been probably one of the best years of games ever, and that's just with what's come out so far. And outside of the full-fledged releases, I gotta mention some of the DLC that's come out for some of the best games last year. There's the Horizon Forbidden West DLC, the Burning Shores DLC, Ghostwire Tokyo Spider Thread DLC, Midnight Suns, all the 4 characters have been released, and Callisto Protocol finally got its final transmission story DLC announced. I'm excited for that one. We were left on a cliffhanger when we finished that game, so I'm definitely excited to see where it takes place after that. I also don't want to forget 2 remasters that were announced. There was the Shadows of the Dam Remastered and Clash of Heroes Definitive Edition. The Clash of Heroes one is probably the one I'm most excited about because I love that game, like playing the multiplayer online, and the lobbies on like the 360 and stuff are just empty. So I'm excited to see what the lobbies will be like for like a new release, and just being able to play it multiplayer again will be amazing. But with all that said, let's go ahead and dive into my most anticipated games left to come out in 2023.
Don't say his name. He can hear you. He's always listening.
Coming in at number 10, and our first game on the list, is the upcoming survival horror remake of the 1992 classic, Alone in the Dark. Now with updated gameplay, modern graphics, and a compelling cast with some pretty famous actors. The 2 main protagonists, Edward Carnby and Emily Hartwood, are being played by David Harbour and Jodie Comer. I think just having David Harbour in the game definitely gives this game a big boost in quality, and definitely has me more interested in the game than I was before.
Yeah, you're right. Let's go get your uncle, Miss Hartwood.
They also announced a prologue demo, which kind of gives a taste of the atmosphere and sets up the beginning of this story. I tried it out, and it's only about 15 minutes long, but it definitely has me wanting more. I never played the original back in 1992, so I'm really excited to try it out. The game releases in an extremely crowded month on October 25th, 2023. If there is one setting that doesn't get enough love, it's gotta be the sand setting. Well, in 2023, we can add Atlas Fallen to that list. Coming from the Surge developers, Deck 13 has decided to take a break from the Souls-like genre and create what looks to be an epic open-world action RPG. I think the thing that stands out the most in these trailers is the player movement throughout the environment. The gliding over the sand looks so satisfying and fun. I don't know if you're going to be able to upgrade your speed while you glide through the sand, but I hope so. The platforming and just like jumping over large gaps looks like a blast too. I also think the combat looks really good. The game has this momentum meter, which allows you to build up your momentum and pull off special abilities. But the trade-off is if you have the momentum built up too much, you can start to take more damage. So it's like this risk-reward system that sounds pretty cool. I will say, I really like Deck 13's Surge series. Those games are so addictive, so I have faith that they're probably going to deliver a pretty good game here. I guess we'll find out when Atlas Fallen releases on August 10th, 2023.
The radiance of Mornstead withers.
Next up is a game that's a reboot, spiritual successor to the 2014 Lords of the Fallen. If anyone doesn't remember, Lords of the Fallen was like the first big Souls-like game outside of the From Software games to like emulate the Souls-like formula. But with that said, I wasn't like the biggest fan of the original Lords of the Fallen. I remember the game was like really beautiful, but I thought the gameplay felt way too weighty, like you were walking around like a tank. I don't know, I just didn't really connect with that game. Well, this 2023 reboot of the series definitely is delivering on the looks department as well, but I think the gameplay actually looks a lot smoother, a lot faster. I'm actually looking forward to this quite a bit. And it's not just the graphical fidelity, but it's also like the art style. It's a very dark and gritty looking world. It also kind of looks like a mix between like Demon's Souls and the Medium, especially the Medium, because in that game they designed the levels around two parallel worlds that mirror each other. And that's exactly what this new Lords of the Fallen is doing as well. They're going to have one that's in the world of the living and the world of the dead. And this is definitely when the game got me super interested. Just the idea of having two worlds on top of each other is always such a cool concept to me. The trailers for Lords of the Fallen are really leaning into the boss battles too, and they look pretty damn awesome. Like all these bosses look huge. Looks like you're going to have to kind of learn their patterns, and it looks like it's going to be pretty damn fun. Definitely a standout element of their marketing so far. Lords of the Fallen also releases in that busy month of October on October 13, 2023.
Delta Wing, report.
The spores collapsed the bridge. There's no way through.
Get into assault position by the bridge.
Let us show them some of Ultima's hospitality!
This next game is a series that I have absolutely no knowledge of prior to this video. Coming from Focus Entertainment is Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. And I don't know how I haven't paid attention to this franchise before. Visuals kind of remind me of Gears of War a bit. I also love how the character looks like a cross between a Terran Space Marine from StarCraft and Marcus Phoenix. He looks pretty badass. Just look at these visuals, man, like the lighting and all the enemies on screen at once. That's pretty impressive. And I will say this, I don't even know if it's the best entry point. If anybody out there is a Warhammer fan and like this game is like something I shouldn't be jumping into first, definitely let me know, but it's looking pretty epic. Unfortunately, we didn't get an exact release date, but they've slated it for some time in winter 2023.
Nothing will survive our wrath.
Coming in at number 6 is Replaced. Man, guys, I can't tell you how excited I am for this game. It should have been higher on the list, but, you know, it's been gone for so long and they talk so little about it that I'm like, I don't know, I kind of temper my expectations after a while. But this game topped my favorite indie games list back in E3 2021. This game has been on my mind ever since I released that video. And it's got this badass looking setting that takes place in an alternate 1980s America. And in the game, you're playing as an AI named Reach, who's trapped within a human body. Just that story concept alone has me intrigued, especially with the AI kind of like in the mainstream right now. But for most people, the main appeal for this game is definitely the pixel art style. It's like so realistic looking in some spots that you can't tell it's pixelated, but then once it reveals that it's pixelated, you're like, whoa. I don't know, the surprise just makes it even more amazing. Ever since the announcement of Replaced in The Last Night 3 years before that, which is another game that looks exactly like this, I've just been wanting to experience a game that looks like these two games in general. Like, I don't really care which one comes out first. I'm going to play them both, but I just want one of them to come out for the love of God. Replaced unfortunately didn't get any new announcements or trailers this summer, but since they still have 2023 listed on their Twitter account, I'm rolling with the hope that this game is still releasing sometime later this year.
For as long as I can remember, I have looked for an equal.
Swinging into the middle of the countdown at number 5 is Spider-Man 2. As of right now, Spider-Man 2 looks like it's going to improve on almost everything from the original game and Miles Morales. The traversal for this game looks absolutely insane. It could go down as probably one of the best open world traversal systems. That slingshot ability they showed off in the gameplay trailer looks so fun. You also have the web wings that let you glide for long distances, and then you're kind of going through those rings that give you an extra boost. I think the momentum in this game is just going to be exhilarating. I think the thing that excites me the most in this game though is the two playable characters. The fact that you can switch between them at the press of a button too. I thought it was really cool that when you were like playing as Spider-Man and then you switched over to play as Miles, then you could hear Spider-Man talking over the radio, and it was weird because you were just controlling Spider-Man. I don't know, it was trippy. I love that. We also saw this new web ability where Miles was able to create his own web line that was like above the enemies inside of a building, which could really give players a lot more freedom when they're stalking enemies. I'm also pretty excited that Jim Paris playing in this game. I mean, he was in Dead Space Remake earlier this year. He's of course Boozer, one of my favorite characters ever. And then he plays as Kraven in this game, which seems like a pretty badass villain. Insomniac is saying the open world is about twice as big, you're going to have twice as many playable characters, but I guess we'll have to see if it's twice as good on October 20th, 2023.
Light the fires. The great hunt begins.
The next game on the list, and the third game from Focus Entertainment just in this video, we got Banishers Ghost of New Eden. Ever since the first reveal trailer of Banishers, I haven't forgotten how cool the game looked, and like how much of an impact it had on me. And the music, and just like the slow-mo shots that they do. That was one of my favorite trailers. And just the idea of a man known as a Banisher that hunts down spirits and banishes them or frees them. And on top of that, you have his lover who's there but not there. She's a spirit, but she's like providing you company and gives you special powers. And in the trailer, it looks like you can switch between them as well. There's just something about this art style and the setting and the color palette that just really appeals to me. And I'm just really liking what I'm seeing from like the relationship dynamic between the two. Just like last year's A Plague Tale Requiem, I think this game has the potential to tell a really good two-person story. The developers haven't given an exact release date for the game, but they did put a release window of end of 2023, which is kind of giving me this is probably going to get delayed vibes. It could just be that the publisher's trying to figure out where to put the game, because this is one of the busiest gaming seasons of all time. I mean, September and October are literally stacked. I don't know where else they would put it. So if they delay it, that would be a smart move, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
It takes a brave man to walk these wilds alone.
I'm not alone.
Can you hear me?
Lying its way into the countdown at number 3 is one of the most creatively exciting games of the year, Lies of P. Lies of P is a Souls-like RPG that is set in the universe of Pinocchio. Not the cute Disney Pinocchio, everything is like a twisted, more mature version of the famous story. The thing I find most crazy about this game right now is that they have a demo available for everyone to try out, but it's like 3 months before the release. This game doesn't come out until September, and it'll let you play through the first 2 areas of the game. And at the end, I spent about 5 hours in the demo, which is pretty crazy to me. I've never played a demo that was so long and substantial, and that just makes me want to play it and buy it even more. I feel like the game definitely has that difficulty that's rewarding, and the boss fights were actually really fun and challenging. The third boss actually took me about 10 times to beat too, and once I beat him and the demo cut me off, I was sad, man. I was like, I wanted to keep going. All I gotta say is if you like Souls-like games and think the setting looks interesting, this is definitely one to keep an eye on. I know I'll definitely be continuing once the game launches on September 19th, 2023.
Constellation Starship Frontier. We have you on scanners. Performing remote systems check. Helium-3 tanks check. Seals are intact.
Launching its way into the number 2 spot is a game that has the potential to be one of the best games of all time. It's either going to be Bethesda's next Skyrim or their next Fallout 76. It definitely appears like it's going to be Bethesda's best game by far, and one of the most ambitious games ever. But it also could be in over its head, and I guess we'll have to see if it can actually live up to that. I'm really liking the look of the perk system so far and how you can rank up each perk by doing challenges. It's like a combination of you get to level up and you also get that satisfaction from completing an objective as well. The game looks to be a lot more fast-paced than something like Fallout, and that boost pack they have really allows you to move around the environment in fun ways. I don't think it'll be like on the level of Titanfall or Destiny shooting and movement mechanics, but it looks amazing compared to their past games. And I'm also definitely glad they mentioned stealth in the trailer, because I love stealth, man, because I would really love to just be able to take down bases without being spotted. They also showed off some of the space combat, which allows you to shoot and destroy ships to collect resources, or you could board the ship and take it for yourself, then add it to your own fleet. That really reminded me of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, when you could like board their ships and fight the enemies and take the ship. That's a pretty good idea. I think in the end, most of us think this game looks awesome, but we're all just kind of like waiting to see if it can live up to the hype. I'm leaning towards they've learned their lesson from Fallout 76, and they're gonna launch this like, not perfect, but you know, like pristine condition. And Xbox's Matt Booty had stated that if the game launched today, Starfield would have the least amount of bugs of any Bethesda game ever, which is pretty exciting to hear. I guess we'll have to find out when the game launches on September 6th, 2023.
This is not the story you want it to be. This story will eat you alive. This story is a monster.
This game is not only my most anticipated game of 2023, it's probably my most anticipated game ever. Anyone that knows me or follows the channel knows that Alan Wake is my favorite game of all time. So yeah, just the fact that it's been 13 years in the making, the anticipation is just even more exciting. It really feels like a dream that we are like only 4 months away from continuing the story. Whether it can live up to 13 years of anticipation is yet to be seen, but that's not going to change my hype level. Also in this new game, they are introducing a second playable character now, Saga Anderson. She's an FBI agent who's a profiler, which will be playable in the Bright Falls section of this game, or like the regular real-world sections, and Alan Wake will be playable in the Dark Place sections. Whether they cross over each other at some point is yet to be seen, but I'm definitely excited to see the connections. At Summer Game Fest, Sam Lake stated that the campaign is going to be split 50-50 between the two characters, and you're going to be able to switch between them at certain points in the story. Either you can play all the way towards the end with one character, and then go back and play through the whole other side after that, or you can switch back and forth as the story progresses.
We have two playable characters. It's a 50-50 split between them. They are on their own separate terrifying journeys through two different worlds, and yet it's all connected. And the player gets to switch between them at given points in the story as they choose.
Tell us a bit about, you said split 50-50. Do they have separate missions? How, because I think you can play them in sort of different sequences or orders if you want, right?
Yeah, we go into the experience playing as Saga.
Okay.
And very quickly she has to learn to survive, and with that all the players will be on that journey with her. Then we open up the experience so that you can hop to play Alan Wake in the Dark Place,
okay,
as he's trying to find his way out, and you can keep on playing as Saga in the Pacific Northwest as the investigation goes on. And you are free to switch between them. There are a lot of connection points,
yes,
in many surprising ways, but there is no right way to play through this. You can choose. You can go on as Alan all the way close to the end, or as Saga, or you can keep hopping between these two.
I'd probably compare it to like Quantum Break, where you switch from Jack Joyce to Paul Serene, like back and forth throughout the story. That's probably how I'm gonna play it. That seems like the right way to play it, even though Remedy does say that there's no wrong way to play the game. And I do want to say, even though I think this concept sounds really cool, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was disappointed that we won't be playing as Alan the majority of the time. I don't know, man, 50-50 sounds like too much. The game is looking like it's going to be great, and Saga actually looks like a cool character. Got good voice acting, looks cool, but she is a new character in a game that we've been waiting 13 years for. The fans have been wondering what Alan's been up to this whole time, so the thought of not playing as him immediately, sounds like you're going to play as her immediately, kind of had me disappointed. But with that said though, it is obviously my #1 anticipated game for a reason. I do have faith in Remedy that they will do Alan justice here. I mean, Sam Lake just the other day vocalized how important Alan Wake is to him, so I don't think he's going to let Alan be put into the background.
I'd love to hear a little bit about what Alan means to you as a character and where he came from.
Yeah, all of the games that we have made at Remedy I'm very proud of. But for multiple reasons, Alan Wake somehow is kind of the most precious character to me, and feels, and that's why I was spending 10 years on and off trying to make the sequel happen.
Remedy has said the game should come in just over 20 hours, so that does give us 10 hours as Saga and 10 hours as Alan, which is a pretty good number. The first Alan Wake was about 12 hours long, so this is going to be about twice as long. And I will say, since the announcement of Saga, I've come around a little bit on the two protagonist gameplay loop, and one of the main reasons is because of one interview with IGN. In this interview, game director Kyle Rowley, who's co-directing this game with Sam Lake, said that since Alan is now in the dark place, Remedy was looking for a way to still represent the Pacific Northwest.
I think one of the main sort of features this time around, 2 playable protagonists.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
So yeah, we kind of wanted to make sure that we could still represent, you know, the Pacific Northwest, which we kind of consider a key part of the Alan Wake IP. Really wanted to kind of, you know, make sure that the forest, the primordial forest, are represented. So, you know, it gives us a different perspective and kind of a different avenue to kind of get across some of the stuff which we think is important for this franchise.
And this is honestly, when I heard that, this is where it clicked. If we only played as Alan, and he is indeed stuck in the dark place for the majority of the game, we wouldn't really get much of the Pacific Northwest in Alan Wake 2. And that's kind of crazy to think of. Bright Falls in the Pacific Northwest is just as important to this story as Alan was. Yes, Alan was our favorite character, but like, without Bright Falls and the evergreen trees and all that, I mean, would it be Alan Wake? So having that second playable character to give us the ability to play in Bright Falls is actually a pretty damn good idea. It started to make more sense as they were kind of like explaining it. And Remedy hasn't even covered Alan Wake's side of the story yet. If Remedy can nail the survival horror aspect of this game, like the resource management, the gunplay, the pacing between enemies, they said the enemies are going to be a lot more scarce. I think if they can nail that, they're good, because they're amazing at doing intertwining stories. So if they can just get the gameplay, I think this has the potential to rival even the best survival horror games ever. And this being the first game released since the Remedy Connected Universe was announced, I'm extremely excited to see the beginnings of that universe. And that, my friends, is why Alan Wake 2 is my #1 anticipated game left in 2023. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I'm about to go heavily focused on Remedy content leading up to Alan Wake 2, and I think it's going to be an amazing time for the channel. Anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay in the light, my friends. Later.